Coming up on today's show, we find out what happens when an experimental drug test goes wrong in the new horror movie, Double Blind.
Stay awake, whatever you do. Don't go to sleep. Don't even close your eyes. If you fall asleep, you'll die.
Stay tuned. Welcome to Scary World, where we walk you through the latest and greatest in the world of horror. I am your host, Arturo Padilla.
Hi.
Before we get into today's movie, remember, this is a spoiler-free show.
I'm not going to spoil the surprise.
Now that we got that out of the way,
We got some rules around here.
there are 5 categories: production, story, ensemble, horror, and legacy. Each category can score up to 2 points.
Showtime.
Per IMDb, the synopsis goes, after an experimental drug trial goes awry,
A perfect plot gone awry.
the test subjects face a terrifying side effect.
Have there been any side effects?
If you fall asleep,
Don't fall asleep in there.
you die.
A very surprising side effect.
Trapped in an isolated facility,
We've the most marvelous facility there.
panic ensues as they try to escape and somehow stay awake.
Did I keep you awake last night?
Production.
You guys gonna watch me?
This movie was directed by Ian Hunt Duffy. This is his feature film debut. Prior to this, he did a couple of short movies, but nothing to the scale and magnitude of this film. This is a huge step up for a filmmaker who hasn't been working with a large cast or hasn't been working in the horror genre before. That being said, a lot of kudos goes out to him. He did a very admirable job for his first feature film. A lot of the stuff is well executed. The movie looks good. It looks polished, looks crisp. The shots look very good. Everything is composed well. There is a lot of dark settings here. It is a one location movie, but because of the location, it's an underground bunker office kind of lab thing, so there's not much natural light, a lot of fluorescent lighting, a lot of dim spaces, a lot of dark spaces as well, and everything looks really good. He does a good job of making sure the movie looks good on a visual scale. And for the first time that he's taking the reins of a feature like this, I think he did a great job. Directing and filming is very difficult, and it's always awesome to come across young filmmakers who are tackling their first horror movie. For instance, we tackled the China Brothers, who did a great job of Night Shift. Go check that one out. This movie as well was treated the same way. He knows how to film a horror movie. It looks good. Aside from the frame composition, he uses some really cool camera techniques to really put the audience right in those scenes. There's a lot of chaotic things that are going on in the second half of the movie, and he uses those techniques to make sure we as a viewer are also in a state of chaos when we're looking at this stuff, and it's very effective. And for the first time being so well done and for such a good execution of a horror movie, this gets a solid 1 for the feature film debut of Mr. Ian Hunt Duffy. Story.
Okay, what's the story?
The script and story was written by Derek McGriggle. Apologies if I butchered that name, but this is his feature debut as well. And once again, a lot of kudos goes out because it is tough to write a good script. And this is a good script. It has a good story. It has good dialogue. All the acts flow very well. Everything is paced very neatly and very concisely. You get all the proper beats where they need to be hit. There are some predictable moments in the second act, but because of the pacing, you kind of just flow right through it and just continue through. You don't get much time to think about the faults there because the movie is just kind of going and it's not stopping at any moment because these people have a countdown and there's consequences here. There's real-time consequences for these characters, and it shows in the script. The suspense and the tension is built very well throughout the movie as well. It's a solid script, solid story. The ending could have been a little better in my opinion. I think they could have done something different with the ending of the movie, but that being said, it doesn't take away from the overall package of the story. I think he did a good job with the script, and for that, this movie gets a 1 for story. Ensemble.
Everybody's a suspect.
This is the definition of an ensemble piece. You had a great set of characters, and you had some solid actors portraying those characters. Everyone gelled really well. There was a good chemistry and dynamics amongst all the relationships and the characters. The tension and suspense that was built in the story is successfully portrayed and pushed by the actors, if that makes sense.
Let me guess. Heard about it from a friend, thought easy money, right?
Don't have a lot of other options, so.
Young, broken, desperate. It's a drug trial magic combo.
Nah.
They did a good job of making sure that the dread here is feels real, and that the conditions that they're going through in this drug trial feel real, and they come off as real to the viewer. And they did that. They did a great job of depicting people with very little sleep and how they're acting and how the chaos of all that ensues. There were no standout individual performances in this movie. Each and every character depended on the other for their successful depiction of the character. That's why this movie worked so well, because the characters worked well and the actors knew how to portray those characters. And all the characters actually have a pretty well-rounded arc in this movie, which is pretty fun. I think it was a highlight of the movie. And for that, this movie gets a 2 for ensemble. Horror.
Ooh, spooky.
There is a good amount of blood in this movie. There's not much gore, but the blood, there's a lot of blood here. And it happens in the latter part of the second act and through into the third act. The first half of the movie is pretty blood and gore free. It's all character building stuff in the beginning, but once we get going with the blood and the horror action, it doesn't stop. It actually gets better from there. The blood use was phenomenal here. It looked really cool the way they used blood. The majority of it is practical. There is some CG used as well to enhance some of the blood techniques and stuff, but it doesn't deter from the scene, and you kind of don't even notice it. There's a first sequence here where, one of the first sequences, I should say, we get like this blood kind of fountain looking effect, and it looks really cool, man. It looks really cool. They did a good job with that. I just wish there was a little more of it. I wish they kind of dug in and started all this fun a little earlier. In Act 3, we get some more horror action and some more violence there. We get some kills in this movie as well. And the kills all look good. They're shot well. They're all practical for the most part. When you see it, like I mentioned, maybe some CG blood splatter here and there, but you do get some pretty good gore at the tail end of this movie. And for that, it gets a solid 1 for horror. Legacy.
Any other thoughts?
This was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I thought the pacing was really well done to the point where you kind of sit through that thing and just kind of fly through it. As I mentioned in the previous section, there is a lull in the second act, but that's just character building stuff. There's always a lull in a movie when you're building characters, especially when you have a handful of characters like you have here. You have to kind of all introduce them, and we got to see what they're all about, so that's understandable. But it was a good flick. It throws you right into it. You go right into the trial right away, and you get into the introductions. So you are thrown into this thing immediately. There's no fluff in the beginning to get to the trial. There's not much fluff actually throughout either. It's all character work. It's all character building stuff, and it's actually pretty well done. And most importantly, for this legacy, yeah, it was a pretty good story. It was fun to see a drug trial gone bad. But what's most importantly is that this is a really solid feature debut for both the writer and the director. And now that they have this under their belt, I hope we can see some more cool stuff from these two guys. And for Legacy, and for the new writer-director, and for those kudos they're going to get, they get a solid 1 for Legacy. To tally it up, Double Blind received a 1 for production, a 1 for story, a 2 for ensemble, a 1 for horror, and a 1 for Legacy, bringing its total to 6. This was a good movie. The story was good. The characters were good. The cast did a good job portraying those characters and making sure the audience related to those characters. There were a lot of characters from different walks of life, and it helped that the actors were able to portray this successfully. This is where the movie shines, is with the characters and the actors in this movie. There is a good amount of blood, as I mentioned in the horror section, but I do wish there was some more. I wish it started earlier too. It was in the latter part of the movie, and it drove that second half of the movie into the end. Go check this one out. Double Blind, wherever you can rent VOD now.
Can you tell me what time it is?
And that's a wrap, folks. Thank you for watching Scary World. Don't forget to drop a comment down below, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Most importantly, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell all your friends, your buddies, your family, and their pets to come on over to YouTube and subscribe to CorpseFeed. We have spoiler-free movie reviews for you guys Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And check out the official CorpseFeed podcast dropping every Tuesday anywhere you get your podcast streams. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, all that good stuff. We are there. Check us out on all the social feeds, folks. We are there as well. We will see you on Friday for another episode. And remember, it's a scary world out there, but we are here to walk you through it.
I just wanted to say goodbye.